How's it going, everyone who's here? Good to see you guys. It's 9 AM here in Australia. Time to have some fun, as weird as that sounds. What we're going to do today, I'm going to sort of, I'm actually going to, thanks for the follow. I'm going to sort of redo what we did last week, but with a few refinements. The reason I didn't upload last week is because the method I found for this chainmail idea was a little bit finicky, to say the least, in terms of, well, not only the method, but also the file size. The file size blew out to around a gig. It's ridiculous for a 3D file, especially for something as simple as chainmail when you think about it. So what we're going to do today is basically refine the idea, try to find a simpler way of doing it. That's why it's an experiment. And we're going to try our best to make something perform a little bit better. So the idea is to use cloth sim as a base, and then transfer that cloth sim to the chainmail, so you can get some natural chainmail-y clothness to it. So that's gonna be really fun. So let's first start off with what I want to do. I want to try and work with a lot more with modifiers, for one. So I'll work a lot more with modifiers to try and get what we need. So what we're going to do, firstly, I'm going to start off with, hey, how you doing? Welcome back. Again, we're going to be here for about an hour. I got real world stuff to do after this. So 1 hour is the, I think, the golden spot for experiment stuff. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start off with a cube and a plane, and I'm going to turn those into collision objects. That will be an experiment for just testing out this method with the most basic of setups. Sometimes when you're doing experiments like learning how to do chainmail, like dynamic chainmail for instance, it's worth using a test bed, something that's low poly and easy to work with. So I'm going to add a collision modifier onto both of these. And sorry if I sound a bit stuffy, by the way. It's springtime in Australia, so I got friggin' allergies. Classic. All right, so I'm gonna grab another plane. Start off with. Scale that up. Apply the scale for everything, by the way. And I'm going to add some subdivisions to this thing. So let's add some subdivisions and turn it to simple and add a bunch of subdivisions like so, based on the viewport. And if you look at the wireframe, you can see how many subdivisions you have with optimal display turned off. And that should be enough, I think. That will be enough for a cloth sim. Add a cloth sim. And let's test it out. Yeah, that's fine. We could probably get away with less, actually. Get away with less geo. So let's do that. Put it down a notch. Yeah, that'll do for our thing. Hey, how you doing? How's it going, everyone? Thanks for joining again. Yeah, really appreciate it. For those who just rocked up, again, I'm refining what we discovered last week about the chainmail. So this is more of an extended experiment at this stage, so a 3D experiment. But I didn't like what I found with that. The initial idea was the file size was huge. Oh, cheers, dude. Appreciate that. So what I want to do is try and find a way to make the file size a little bit more manageable in terms of how it works, and also rely less on high poly counts to get the same result. So we're going to use a lot more modifiers to achieve what we need to achieve. So we're going to grab this. We're going to add cell collisions onto the cloth just to turn it on so it's a little bit more natural. That looks a bit better. We could turn down the collision distance to 0.05. And the distance as well to 0.05, just to make it consistent. play that back once more. Alright, cool. So we got that up and running. That will do for now. As an experiment, that will do perfectly well. Let's turn on random color just because I can. I like the random color. Okay. So, for the chainmail, I'm going to try this. So, instead of using a full-on piece of geometry, I'm just going to use a circle, just like that. A plain piece of geometry, a circle, nothing fancy. Let's just see if we can add it first. I'm going to save this file. And we're going to add some modifiers to give this some, density and some thickness. So firstly, let's see if it works. But the skin modifier, yep, that worked well. Nice. We can also make the thickness of that skin a lot thinner. So if you go to edit mode, and you'll see here there's a in the edit tool there's a mean radius, which is really interesting because it lets you do it in X and Y, which means I can actually make chainmail that has a thinner profile by using the playing with the mean radius X and Y. Make sure you have everything selected to do that though, everything in edit mode selected. So that's what I'm going to do there. And the nice thing about this method is that I can always unsubdivide in edit mode what I need to do. So I can always unsubdivide the density. It's a bit too dense. So let's go to unsubdivide. Where are we? Usually there's an unsubdivide button. Let's see, edge. There we go. I just want to have it very simple. As simple as possible. Turn on this skin. So the first thing I want to test is whether or not this method will work with simple geometry like this. So the first thing I need to do is I want to put a skin modifier on the lowest possible poly count, which is the edges, the thing before the skin modifier. So I want to add the surface deform as early as possible. Let's test it out first, see if it works. Save. Bind. Okay, looks like it worked. And boom, it works brilliantly. Okay, which is good to know. That works really well. Okay, next test we need to do is, will it work well when I add a subdivision modifier before the skin modifier? So it goes back to being high poly. And it works pretty well, which looks good. I mean, there's a few glitches, but nothing that won't affect us long term, I don't think. Okay, the third experiment we need to do is to see if it works with an array. So I'm going to add an array to this guy and see if that works. And I want to put the array before the subdivision, so we're working with the lowest possible poly count here. Hey, how you doing? So let's scale this down as well, by the way. In edit mode, scale everything down. And we're going to play with that mean radius as well. There we go. Just so we get something that's closer to chainmail size, like that. Alright. I have to unbind as well, just so it rebinds. Alright, cool. And we need to put the array above this, the surface deform. So we're going to add a few more and test that out. Unbind, rebind, and see if that works with the cloth. It's working pretty good. Looking good so far. Apart from the weird, that's an interesting one. The way that the cloth is, the way that the verts are being manipulated there is a little interesting. It's sort of like it's spinning around in different shapes. That's really weird. So we may need to add a little bit more geometry to this and work with a solidify modifier instead of the skin modifier. So let's test that out. This is what it's all about, guys. Testing and trying out new things. Alright, so we're going to go back a few levels. So we're going to remove the skin modifier, so it's just the circles. We're going to remove the keep the subdivision there for now. And instead of dealing with just the straight up verts, we're going to extrude in a set of just very simple faces, just that many faces. And then we can unbind and rebind and just see how that works. That's behaving a lot better now. Okay, so that's behaving a lot better now. So instead of using the solidify modifier, we're going to try and use the sorry, instead of using the skin modifier, we're going to try and use the solidify modifier. There we go. So we're going to move that above. I think we'll move it above the subdivision, just cause we can. Though I don't think it's necessary, to be honest. Though we'll add more geometry if we have it. I think it's an even amount of geometry either way. 1225 faces. 1703. 1927. So yeah, the solidify would be better off underneath the subdivision if you wanted to have a hard edge on the ringlets, that is, at least. But if you want to have it feeling a little softer, you can have it above, but it won't add too much. Well, it will build up if you have a more complicated piece of chainmail, but we'll get there. So with that out of the way, I think we're ready to. I think that works really well. I think what we need to do now is, well, firstly, let's add a bit of a material to this guy. Let's add a bit of material, and we'll change it to metallic. Boom. And so we can visualize it with a bit of metalness in the viewport. So you can see the metal there. And we can turn on a few features like ambient occlusion, bloom, and a few other fancy pants stuff like shadows, yeah, performance, indirect lighting. Nah, don't worry about that shit. So yeah, we're just playing with that now. So we've done that. We'll worry about that later. So, what's next? Well, now we need to make it a bit more believable as Chainmail. So, let's bring this guy up. Well, let's not worry about that too much right now. Let's actually copy one of these. And we're going to do the same thing we did before with the in the previous video, or previous stream, sorry. And we're going to rotate one of them. Rotate that way. Bring the other one forward. Rotate other way. Very slightly though. And then we have to move everything into the center of the center of the world, so like that. Hopefully that will do okay when we merge them together. So we're just gonna very slightly do that. And we'll set up the array to be a little bit more closer together. That's looking better already. Brilliant. All right. Now, let's get that chainmail pattern up and running all the way down the set. Save. So we're going to add another array, but this time in the vertical. So we're going to change it from X to Z. No, Y. Yeah, Y, sorry. So we get this kind of going on. This is why you have to like sort of play with the chainmail pattern a little bit, because you don't get the overlap that you need properly. So let's rotate also in the Y. I think Y and X. Rotate in the Y over there. And we're starting to get something that we need. So we're getting that overlap working really well. This one just needs to be rotated a bit more, that's all. So that one's overlapping, that one's going in. Now this one needs to go up a little bit. This is why the offset's really important as well. So having that offset really helps, but let's not worry about too much actually. As an experiment, we need to still sort out the most important part, which is the array. So we just got the array up and running. Alright, there we go. Save. Okay, moment of truth. Let's minimize that, bring up the surface to form, and then unbind and rebind. And test. Much nicer. How much better is that performance? So much better. Okay. So, next thing we need to do is just test to see how that looks in the viewport. Let's just hide the overlays. And we're starting to get something that looks a lot better. Starting to look, you know, really like chainmail now. And this is just with a much lower poly count on the surface to form. So we're getting a way better performance on top of everything else, which is really good. Obviously get stretching, but that's not the point. Yeah, that too. Plus we're working with because you know, this is the idea. The idea of this this cloth sim is that it's designed to be a quick solution to get realism without the 100% realism. So the idea is that with the cloth sim here, you're allowed to have a little bit of stretching in the material in the chainmail without, you know, looking too weird, because from far away you won't really notice. All right, so we can also change the material to give it a bit more shine. So let's go to roughness and just turn that down a little bit. Get a bit of roughness. All right. So what can we do from here? We need to firstly fix up the chainmail so that the overlaps work better. So let's fix that up. Go back into our edit mode and see what we can do. And then I want to show you the advantages of this method that I'm working with here, because they're numerous. And they're really useful. So actually I'm gonna go rotate in this direction. Oops. One this way and one this way. There we go. I think and even then you can even if you had to do it like a actual chainmail where they're like basically rings. Let's have a look at how chainmail is actually built. Let's get a close-up look at that. Thought I saw a really good one. Yeah, they're almost like almost 180 degrees into each other. So that's interesting. So we can manipulate that a little bit to make it fit with our scheme. Yeah. So you just gotta rotate it more. Just like he said, they're almost like perpendicular to one another. So let's see, on the Y, let's rotate that on the Y. I think it's more on the X actually. So almost like a lot more perpendicular. And this is why it's probably also a good idea to have a square-like pattern actually, where you kind of have the opposite. I know how to fix this. So we're going to duplicate this, and then we're going to rotate like so, and that should fix our issue. So we'll see what happens. So I'm going to turn off the array for now. In both regards. Firstly, just to see. I might be wrong here, but well, firstly, we can bring the chainmail together closer. So DX or GX to bring it closer. See how that looks so far. That's fine. Let's change the way that that behaves there, and bring the array a bit closer for one. And just see how this one's working. This middle one's working fine. So what I think we need to do is, yeah, I think what I said was right. We need to basically make a pattern swatch, essentially, to get the right linkage up. So duplicate, rotate, and then do the opposite. So that seems to work. Yeah, I'm pretty cool with that. Let's bring it closer in. A little bit like that. And then, let's see. We're going to rotate in the Y maybe a little bit. That one's working there. Yeah. Let's hope it works. And then one more here. And that is probably to rotate that down a little bit too. Just a little bit. And hopefully we got ourselves a decent chink, I guess, or a pattern basically. Like that. And the crazy thing is we could probably even like array that. So let's have a look. That's looking good. Let's just adjust this a little bit. It's looking a bit dense, but that's alright. Turn on the other one. Thing is, it actually looks okay. It actually looks like they're all merging together quite nicely. You could probably just whoops. Get that working. Oops, sorry, I'm going the wrong way. Working like that. There we go. And then bring the number down. Alright, I think that will work. That looks alright. Looks a bit dense though, for chainmail. If you look at the way it's done, but we could try it. I mean, it still looks like chainmail. But we'll give it a go. We'll give it a go. Either way, it doesn't really matter what pattern you use. The method still works. But we'll save that. And we'll unbind and rebind. Test it out. Still working like a charm. So the method sound. Basically, that's the big thing. That's the main thing about this, is that the method is functional. And the cool thing about this method here is that we can always, because the surface deform is sitting above the solidify and the subdivision, we can always change the way that they behave. So we can actually make the ringlets thicker or thinner. So we can actually make them a little bit thicker. And it won't affect the simulation. Or thinner. You can set it up and down on the stack, depending on how you want it. So if you want more ringlet-like rings, you can make them thicker. And it won't affect the poly count or the rebind for the setup here. So it's still working quite nicely. So that's really cool. So what we need to do after this is one, we need to trying to do this on a human character. So we're going to do the same thing on the human character to try and get some sort of similar result. So we're going to bring in our human dude and then do the same method. So the human character that I'm going to use is, I think, this guy. Sorry, I have a lot of tests. I've been making a new hand edge flow test as well. So yeah. Let's see if I can open up one of these guys. Chainmail test 1. That's a bit... That will do alright. Let's just try that one out. This one's only 15 meg still, so that's okay. The other one, you can see the other one was like 1 gig. Ridiculous. Oh, that's my new test. Oops, my bad. Which one was it? General. Ah, yeah, the general mail. Yep, this one will do. So we're gonna bring this guy in. Bring in him. This is a hole. Copy him. And we're going to test out the same method, but with the human character. So we have this guy. Let's make a new collection. Call it man or human. And I'm gonna just paste that guy in. These are just the widgets for the controllers, so I'm just gonna put those into their own little pocket. Hide those away. We don't need them. Boom. We have the rig still, so he can still be posed, which is even better. So we can actually pose him up later on, which is cool. He's in rest pose, so he can still be posed up, which is nice. And he deforms quite nicely, so that's all good. All right, we're going to do the same test. We're going to do this, use the same material, the same chainmail method. We're not going to make it from scratch. We're just going to do the same thing we did before with last week. We're going to go a circle, and we're just going to make a shawl first. A nice simple shawl, chainmail shawl to start off with. So, firstly, I'm going to make this guy in the visibility to be set to turn that off in front. There we go. Now we can see everything. All right, so I'm just going to extrude in a bunch of fabric, subdivide. That'll do for now. And we're going to add a collision modifier, a cloth modifier to the cloth, and a collision to this guy, like so, at the bottom of our armature. Or even before the armature, that's fine. There we go. And test that out. Boom. Working fine. Working fine. Okay. As you'd expect. We can always subdivide this a little further if we wanted to. So if we subdivide this guy, boom, put it on top of the cloth, and we'll get a better sim. That looks a bit better. Cool. All right, so let's add some chainmail to this guy. We're going to bring back our geo collection. I'm going to copy the chainmail and move it to our human character. Hide the other collection for now, and scale this whole thing down. So I want it to actually feel like chainmail in scale. So this is where it's up to you how dense you want this thing to be. So less dense means more performance, and more, I guess, in this case, it probably looks a bit more realistic as well. So what we're going to do is array this guy across the length of the circle. Same with this one. Array it like so. So we're happy with our setup there. But in this case, I think we're going to have to apply the array. But first, let's just test it out and see how it goes. We're going to unbind and rebind to our circle here. So this circle 1, copy that name. And we're going to paste it into our circle 1, into our surface to form, bind, and just test it out. Let's see if it works. Save it. It's a bit dense, that's okay. So it's working pretty good. It's working better than I thought, actually. Alright, so it's working pretty good so far. Obviously the density is still a bit high. Oh, the size of the chainmail is a bit high, but that's okay. So let's just delete what we don't need now. So I'm going to apply the array on both accounts. And I'm just going to isolate the selection between the circle and the chainmail. And we're just going to delete what we don't need. So I'm going to go into Z wireframe. Turn on random color in wireframe as well. It'll be easier to see things, hopefully. You can see the underlying circle there. I'm going to grab all the center line stuff here, just roughly, and get rid of that circle of geometry. And if you push Control L to link, it will delete anything that's linked up, so that will give you a natural deletion of chainmail around that circle, that hole. The dashki. Oh, like the thing, the shawl. Yeah, a little bit. So we're going to do the same thing over here. So I'm just going to use the lasso select in this case. So I'm going to lasso select everything around there. Control L, delete. Faces. And it doesn't have to be perfect because chainmail isn't perfect. You know what I mean? Faces. Made by a person. It's not made by a machine, so it's never going to be perfect, so it doesn't really matter if yours isn't perfect. So just delete a bunch of these faces. Control Alt, delete. One last round. I'm going to delete these ones here. Control Alt and delete. I think that should be fine. Oh no, fuck it. I'll keep those there. Alright. Get out our local view and turn on viewport shading. Let's test this out. We're gonna unbind. And so we're gonna rebind, sorry. And the nice thing is that you can always turn off the subdivision now without affecting the simulation, which is even better. Boom. So if you want a low poly look to your chainmail, we don't have to worry about it because you can always render it as high poly after the fact, so you get a way more performance So once you've done the actual simulation, you can turn on the subdivision without really affecting anything else. So, save. That's the cool thing about the modifier stack. So let's have a look at that in the viewport. And we're getting some really cool chainmail now. And if we turn on viewport display, turn it on, we now have high res chainmail, and we can turn it off whenever we like. Brilliant. Save that. And the memory count is way lower too. So it looks much lower. The memory amount, it was like 300 last time. Now it's only 180, which is nice. So yeah, that's really cool. You can even have it look completely flat, which is a really interesting little effect there. Because it has no thickness. So that's the thing. The simulation's way lighter now, basically, without the with the way that we've done the stack, basically. Using the smallest amount of geometry possible to get the best result possible. So let's try this out with one last setup here. We're going to do it with the cloth, with an actual shawl, like an actual piece of armor. So, let's hide this guy. We're going to move that to the new collection and call it chainmail. Shawl, I guess. Hide that. Alright. Let's bring back our original setup here. I'm going to duplicate the chainmail again. And move that to the human character again and hide the geo. Unlink the surface to form once more. And I'm just going to save that. Thank you for the follow, Nuvis. Really appreciate it. Okay, so what we're going to do now is I'm going to hide this guy for now. Let's make a new plane that will represent our armor or cloth. So let's get back into our proper viewport and make a plane. And this is where I screwed up last week. So last week, the reason why the cloth wasn't working was because the surface deform doesn't like it when you do this. It doesn't like these diamonds. It doesn't like diamonds and redirects in the mesh. So what we're going to do is just have a straight up subdivision. So we're just going to subdivide this up completely like so. So in edit mode, I'm going to subdivide it a few times. Or like that. And in I'm going to go into wireframe mode. In wireframe mode, I'm just going to choose the part of the body that will be the neck. So I'm going to delete the neck area of the mesh. So something like that. Actually, that would be pretty good. Let's go with that just to be safe. Oh, first thing I need to do is actually, yeah, scale it in first. And I'm going to re-subdivide that. I'm going to remove those subdivisions. Oops, wrong selection. I'm going to re-subdivide all of them. So I'm going to get rid of all of those. Ah, fuck it. I'll make a new plane. I'll make a new plane. So I need to make it rectangular. Rectangular, sorry. Plane, rotate up, bring it up. Need to make it fit the person, so just like that. Apply the scale. Now I can add subdivisions manually. That way I know that like it's fairly square in nature, so just like that. That looks a bit better. And then I can subdivide properly as needed. So just enough geometry like so to get the right amount of play. All right, so let's delete this part of the faces. So I'm going to delete these parts just to get the neck shape up and running. I'm just going to delete those faces. And depending on how tall you need your chainmail to be, you can make it larger or smaller, but I'm going to have it sit around the hip area. Unless you want it to be full medieval, in which case it would be all the way down there. But I don't want to deal with the poly counts either at this stage. Let's make it like that much. There we go. Faces. Cool. Okay, so we got that up and running. We've got this cloth up and running in terms of shape. I'm just going to smooth out this area here just a little bit though. I'll make it a bit rounder. That part there. Let's just make that a little bit rounder. I'll fix it up manually, don't worry. It's all good. There we go. Now it's starting to look a bit more clothy in the front there. And we'll just manually just give it a bit of a curve, a little bit more of a curve. The reason I'm doing this because the shape does matter when it comes to the cloth sim. There we go. That'll do. And you want to get the distribution looking right too. Just like that. Alright, cool. Save that. And first thing I need to do is set up the cloth. So I'm going to duplicate this guy inside edit mode, sorry, to get the back of the cloth. And make sure you have your face orientation set up properly. So you want them both to be blue on the outside. So grab that. And we're going to go to mesh, normals, and flip those. So now the blue is on that side, blue's on that side. All good. Alright, so let's add one last thing. Save that. Always be saving. F. And then we're going to add cloth. Basically the pins for the cloth first. Oops, undo. So I'm pushing F to fill, by the way. I select an edge, push F to fill. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Done. F. Oops, wrong one. There we go. And before we go, I just want to delete the armholes. So these ones here, these ones here, this one's here, and that one there. Let's just delete those. So they have some armholes to work with. Actually, the armholes should be up there as well. So let's grab all those. We're not making a t-shirt here. So those would be fine. You could probably bring the whole thing down, to be honest. Just a bit lower, like that. And bring back some of those. 1, 2. 1, 2. Yeah, cool. Alright, so after we've done that, select those faces. These faces here. This face is here. Delete by only faces. So now we have the pins up and running. Now we have this setup for cloth. Okay, so go to the cloth modifier. We're going to go into our cloth settings. Go into shape. Turn on sewing. Object collisions turned on. Cell collisions are turned on. Same thing. 0.05. Or 0.005. 0.005. Save. Simulate. There we go. We got ourselves. Actually, looks pretty good. Not bad. All right, cool. So now we have our simulation for our cloth. That's looking pretty good. Totally. So that's looking pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that cloth sim. Let's turn off front face orientation. So that's looking all right. If we want to, again, we can always add more geometry to the simulation by adding a subdivision on top of the cloth. Just like that. And it's based on the viewport level, not the render level. So now that's looking a little bit more clothy. Like so, that's looking good. Now it's time to bring back our chainmail. so let's bring back our chainmail. And I'm going to turn off the subdivision for now. Just turn that off. And let's bring in the chainmail like so. Oops. That looks all right. Yep, cool. And we're just going to get into the right scale and put it into the right place, and it should work. Hopefully it does. Oh, thank you. Cloth sim's awesome when it works. When it works. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to grab this. Alright, save that. Let's add some more arrays. Probably 30 in this case. Yep, perfect. Alright, 30 in the array down that way. Let's go 20 first to see how that looks. Yeah. Alright, so we need about 40 or yeah, 38. Perfect. What a guess. What a guess. Alright. Alright, so what we need to do is just line that up first. Save. And I'm going to just save that as a backup and then apply the array, and then delete what we don't need. Wireframe. And so you can see the line down there. We can see what's going on there. So I'm going to select all that part down here. And hopefully we don't get the same error we did last time. But I didn't have it when I tested it last week. So it should be fine. Control L, select the circumference, delete, only faces. Oops, undo. Not only faces, delete the faces. Delete all of them. There we go, that's better. Alright, let's grab those. I'm going to delete those as well. And that one there, because I can. Delete. Faces. Alright, cool. So we got our chainmail set up there. Let's turn off skin view. There we go. Let's turn off the wireframe now, so you can see what's going on. So we got everything set up now. Now it's ready for surface to form to test. Bind. Yeah, it worked. It worked. Alright, sweet. Now let's play it back. Ah, it didn't bind. It bound to the wrong one. Classic. Undo. Let's bind to this one. Plane 03. Copy. Copy. Bind to plane 03. Where are we? There we go. Bind. Yeah. Now it worked. Alright, sweet. Sick. Alright, cool. Just as we planned, because we experimented beforehand, it's working really, really well. Brilliant. Alright, let's have a look at that as a render. We got ourselves some really nice chainmail with cloth sim and everything. You get a little bit of you know, niggles here and there, a little bit there, but you know, if you put some leather on top of that, no, it wasn't because of that. It was because the reason why it didn't work last week was because I'll tell you why. Let me just finish this up first, and I'll tell you why it didn't work. All right, let's duplicate. Let's move that over here and do the back of it like so. Save, unbind, bind. There we go. And we got ourselves our chainmail, like a charm. All right, brilliant. So this is the coolest thing, because you can actually do cloth sim and have the chainmail move around too. But so the reason why this method didn't work last week was this. So let me just duplicate the let's just duplicate the this thing here. And the reason it didn't work was, let me just put a cube in the middle just so that I can, just to make it collide. So the reason it didn't work was this. The geometry, surface deform modifier does not like this. So you remember how I tried to make a bit of edge flow for the cloth to make it feel a little bit more, you know, easy to flow around the body. So I did this in the cloth. I did this in the cloth setup. I did that. Remember that? I did that. And if you try to add, let me just demonstrate. If you try to add a surface deform with that in mind, duplicate this. Unbind. I'm going to choose this one now. Let's see if it works. It probably will, because I'm just showing you that it doesn't work, because fuck me, right? So if I try to bind that now, it bound. But basically, it doesn't like that kind of geometry. Like, it doesn't like it when you have that sort of diamond for some reason. I'm not sure why it doesn't like it. Sometimes it does work, sometimes it doesn't. And I'm not sure why it's working in this case, but it's working today. Maybe because I have less geometry as well, but it's working now. Yeah, I have no fucking clue why it's working now. But yeah, that's the reason why it wasn't working. And that's basically it. So let's just delete that stuff. Let's just set up a camera and wrap up this experiment with a quick little render, because we can. And we can still manipulate the the rig. So, you know, you can still do all the sort of stuff you'd expect to be able to do. Let's get him closer. Do a quick little test with a render. Let's get his head looking at the screen. Be pretty half-assed with this posing, by the way, but that's okay. But the cool thing is, if I pose him up now at the start here, let's go into local view. There we go. That's better. It's going to scale him up. Give him a thumbs up, because I can. Ah. Got to do it very slightly. Rotation X. There we go. There we go. He's happy he's got chainmail. He won't get shot by arrows very easily anymore. Happy chappy. I'm a happy chappy because it worked. And let's just see how that looks with the proper render. Alright, cool. Let's add some lights. Can I even click on that? Why isn't it? Why won't it let me click? light. Let me click it, mate. That's interesting. Oh, I'm in pose mode, that's why. Idiot. Alright. Let's add some light and shadow. There we go. You can see the glisten of the armor now. Look at that. Fantastic. Let's get some 3-point lighting going on. One for the back. There we go. Nice and shiny. We can turn on our subdivision. And we're sitting pretty, man. How cool is that? Go into world view. Give it a different color. Make this guy a different color just because we can. And we're sitting pretty. How cool is that? Add some subdiv. Subsurfs, sorry. There we go. And if we wanted to now, we can actually hide the this thing from rendering. And there we go. We got ourselves a pretty nice effect in the chainmail. If you look through it, it looks really cool. Obviously, the distance between the shoulders and stuff could be improved, but all in all, pretty nice result. Pretty nice result. There we have it. How cool is that? Exactly, right? So, yeah, that's it. We made it in exactly 1 hour. Perfect for a lunch break style experiment. So if you ever want to do this during lunch, you know, you got an hour to kill. You're waiting for a download to finish. You can give this a go, and you get a pretty good chainmail result with without the overhead of like a full-on simulation. I mean, it's just a bit of cloth sim and an array, but you're working with a lot of just basic geometry at this stage. So let's recap with the chainmail. For those who just is seeing for the first time, we have our a subdivision and the solidify, and these are just really simple planes. Really simple geometry, not even that much going on the actual geometry. And then we have the surface deform on top of all that, that's manipulating the cloth. Super, super cool. Ah, cheers, Lumi. Really appreciate that. But yeah, that's it. That's how we finish it up. That's how we're going to wrap up today. Obviously, if you wanted to, like, you know, make sure it doesn't stretch too much, you just have to make the cloth sim less extreme, so you don't get as many folds. But if you wanted to actually use it as with animated cloth, you can actually animate this with the same sort of effects. So really cool stuff. Let's turn it off the simulation and get it to settle. There we go. Settle. There we go. That looks better. And the reason why it's crapping out a little bit is because the collision needs to be underneath the armature. So now it should work even better. There we go. You can see it's actually manipulating on his arm there. And if we were to animate, let's do one last thing before we wrap up. One last thing, because I'm getting distracted now. And that is to keyframe the pose on the arm. Save. I'm going to keyframe it on 30 frames or 20 frames. Rotation, location, and scale. Reset the pose there. Keyframe that. Let's see how that works. And you can see it's actually working with animation. How cool is that? Really? Ridiculous. Goddamn Streamlabs. I have no idea why it's loading late. I'm gonna do some investigation about that. That's really annoying. Yeah, I'm not sure why. It might be because my schedule says, maybe my schedule says 10 AM. I'm not sure. I'll have to double check on that. But rest assured, if it's, yeah, I'll make sure it's sorted out by next week. It's sort of fucking up there. But yeah, that's all good. The tweet only went out just now as well. That's so strange. I'm not sure why it's doing that. But yeah, that's it. But yeah, that's how we do it. That's how we do the cloth sim, man. That's the hour's up. I'll be back on Wednesday to do more Black Curtain stuff, which is going to be cool. But yeah. Cheers. I appreciate that. I hope you don't stalk the house as well, but that's, you know, you never know. It's all good. All right. So to wrap up, I'm going to say thanks for watching. It's been really fun today. It's been great that nothing went really wrong. I'm not sure what that means. Oh, thanks for the gems. Awesome. I've never had that before. Really appreciate that. Or the bits, sorry. Really appreciate it. Thank you. So, yeah, just to recap, I might post this online tonight or tomorrow, because tonight I'm also posting up a tutorial. I'm finally posting part 3 of the next tutorial for rigging. So this will go up tomorrow night, I think, or Wednesday night. But if you want to recap it, feel free to re-watch the stream. Otherwise, I'm going to chuck it up on YouTube. So thank you for watching. Thank you for everything. It's been really fun. All right. I'm going to wrap up. I'm going to say goodbye. Thank you again. And I'll catch you on Wednesday. I'll see you then. Cheers. Thank you. Thank you for watching. All right. I'll catch you later.